Hello and welcome back to another video. If you recall, at the end of the last one, I had just planked the little deck here on the bow, and you can see I've got that all sanded and shaped and cut. Everything is ready. Also spent a fair amount of time sanding on the hull here to get ready to start the planking and everything. So I spent a lot of time up here. One thing I noticed, if you're doing this kit, to kind of watch out for, maybe we can see it here, um, is that we put 8 pieces of wood to form this up here. And if you'll notice by looking at it, this side is longer and extends down further than this side does. And the problem I had is that there's 8 pieces. They're all labeled the same, so they're the same number part, but they're not all identical. Two of them come out of they're all laser cut wood. um, 6 of them come out of a thicker piece of wood. 2 of them come out of a thinner piece of plywood. And I think the differences in thickness between the thick and the thinner one is only about a millimeter each. I think one's 5 millimeters thick, the other's 4 millimeters thick. And so they're despite having the same uh, part number, they are actually different. So you want to make sure that you kind of even both of those stacks out. I did not know this. I just assumed that they were all the same size. It wasn't until after I started sanding and I noticed that, hey, something is long. Why is this one side down more? And I went back and looked at the pieces where I cut them out from, and it's like, sure enough, these things are a little uh, difference in thickness. I don't think it's going to affect everything that much. If anything, I just had to do some more sanding on the side that went down, a little bit further. This is all going to be covered up by the planking. It's just to help kind of form the planking there. If as I start putting some on and checking it out, it seems like this one isn't quite down far enough. I can always add a little piece of scrap in there to kind of lengthen it. But I've already done a lot of checking with some planks to see how everything fits as I was progressing with all the sanding, and I think everything's going to be fine. All the planks are laying things perfectly fine. So in addition to doing the bow, I started sanding here down back at the stern. You can see there's it's showing up, like that whole area's got to get kind of done and down and graded in so that it just kind of flows in down here. You've got to do that on both sides. And I'm probably will have to do a little bit more sanding down there. You can see a pile of sand dust or sawdust in there. I thought I'd cleaned it all out, but apparently I missed a spot. So anyway, so that's kind of the status here as we move into the next step, which is going to be start adding the upper level of the bulwarks. We're going to work on the bow end first, get that one in place, and then we'll work on the stern end. So the ship is so long, they each come in 2 pieces and join, I believe, at this rib, but it might be this one, but I'm pretty sure it's this rib where they come together. And so just one thing as we start working on them, the first one here will be at the bow. I'm going to make sure that it lines up perfectly with, this edge right here where it's supposed to end and work in. Um, when it comes to doing the aft part, I'm not going to just butt it up against the next one and hope for the best down here. This area gets a little bit more complicated down here. So we'll start tacking it in from here. And if we need to make any adjustments, and I know we'll do, I've already done some test fits. And so there's where they end up joining up here, there's about a millimeter of overlap, maybe a little bit less. So we'll have to trim it down. But just because of the way everything sits in, you want to make sure the aft end and the bow are correct, and any adjustment we want to do, we'll do in the middle. So let's go ahead and get started on putting the first bulwark in. Okay, we're getting ready to get started on putting on the bulkhead, so we have to do some prep work for them. The first thing the instructions have us do is basically we're going to stain part of this a walnut color. I've put some guidelines, I've actually, put them up on the side of the ship and kind of traced out the areas that I know I'm going to have to stain and everything, make sure I get those parts covered and everything. Because the inside of these is actually going to be exposed on the deck, so that's why we're coloring it. I'm not really sure that I like the walnut color and the way it's coming out. I'm going to go and put this on now, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to go and actually plank these with some sepulchre, the same, veneer kind of sepulchre that I used on some of the bulkheads, and you'll see the whole hull and stuff will be covered with it. So I'm probably going to do the inside, but just in case it turns out I don't have enough extra or things like that, then I am going to go and take care of and stain it here, so that at least I will have the color and stuff. So these are the ochre stain. They do actually work fairly well. Usually one good solid coat is all you need. This one here, this whole section is actually going to be pretty much visible, so we've got to do the whole thing. I don't spill all of my stain. Fortunately, I have a good amount of this dark walnut in here. There we go. Okay, we'll let that dry. This one here, only the upper part really needs to be coated in the stain. Put a little more. It's looking a little light up here. Okay, that's good. We're going to let this dry. In the meantime, I'm going to cut some little square pieces of wood that we're going to use to actually cover up some of the cannon ports. You can see I've actually put little arrows next to them, and also one of the circular things areas up here. Those there's not. We're going to be using the little short cannon barrels that just kind of glue in. So this is what we're doing is we're putting the backing on that will eventually drill a hole through and mount those camera barrels. And these things will eventually get painted black, but that's going to be done probably a little bit closer to when I'm finishing up the planking and stuff around there. Then I'll go and paint them black, because we've got 2 more rows of cannon ports that'll have those little pieces of wood behind all of them. So we'll do all of that painting at once. So anyway, let's let this dry, and then we'll come back and glue those pieces on, and then we'll be ready to start actually mounting these bulwarks to the deck. Okay, the die that we put on there is all dry now. I went and cut these pieces out. They're 14 millimeter by 14 millimeter, and you've got to pay very close attention to where you put them, or you're going to have to end up doing a lot of sanding so that they don't interfere kind of with the decks. So I put a few marks on here. In the instructions, it tells you exactly where to position them. So hopefully I can get them all set right. There's across the top of a lot of these, there's only about 1 millimeter of overlap. So I'm going to use some quick drying, some CA glue to put these in place. And of course, you also want to make sure that you're not overlapping any of the little cutouts for the ribs and stuff. So go seeing a little bit of glue in there will get rid of that excess. Okay, this part here only gets a single one put on it. The other 6 are going to go on this one. I did put the 1, 2, 3 blocks to weigh these down. As the glue was drying, I noticed they were starting to warp a little bit, and unfortunately they're warping kind of in the wrong direction for what we're going to need. There we go. We'll give this another minute for the glue to dry, and then I'll do a dry fit, and then we can actually start getting ready to mount them onto the ship. Okay, now everything is dry. We're going to get ready to put this first piece on here. Angle this up a little bit. I've got some nails we're going to use to secure it in addition to the glue. So I'm going to use a combination of wood glue and CA to get this fitted. So I'm going to put wood glue kind of along the edge here. I put some in this little thin bottle to try, and I don't think it's doing so well. Let's go back to the main bottle here. It's going to take me forever to get enough glue on there to try not to get anything too much there on the deck. Okay. And I'm going to start with some CA along these sections up here. Hopefully you can see that. Tape, just set that in and kind of push that against there. We want to make sure that it's all the way down and sitting on top of these ribs. Okay. And we'll put some CA up right at the top and along this section here. Yep. And take some of the excess paint glue off there, and of course my CA gave up the ship over here. Let's okay. Got a couple clamps. Okay. Didn't look like it was sitting all the way down on that. Okay, I think that's good. Now we can turn our attention up here where this piece has to actually go in at a nice slope. It is putting a slight bend in there, but there's enough flexibility up here, and the amount of bend is so small that I didn't really need to use water and heat, but I will use a little bit of Windex, which if you're not familiar, the ammonia in Windex will, for a very short time, make wood a little more flexible until the ammonia dries out or evaporates off. And so, meantime, we're going to drill. Yep, I think I missed. There we go. I used a 1/8 millimeter drill bit. Okay. It's in place. I forgot to put the glue in. And here, may be able to put a few more reinforcing nails onto this just to hold it. Okay, I think that's good. I've got enough clamps there holding this in. I don't really think I need another nail there. There's enough wood glue behind it that's going to adhere really well. I can always come back and add some nails later. And we're going to go and let this dry, and then we'll come back and we'll do the aft section. Okay, well, we're back. First part of the bulwarks is secured and everything is dried. What is just a few seconds for you turned out to be an entire day for me. This is actually the next day after I got this secured. I started doing the final fitting of the aft section to make sure that it just sat in there right, and that ended up taking me a little bit longer than I had hoped. I was just going very slow and cautiously trimming little tiny pieces at a time, and so it ended up being a little bit later, and I decided, nope, if I stay up here, I'm going to end up rushing it, which is definitely something you don't really want to do at this stage. So, but now we're ready to go. I think I've got this thing fit really well. Here we'll do one last dry fit, and everything's looking good. It goes in there. You want this back section to kind of just sit right on this little piece that's sticking out. Now up here, it's going to get a little bit more complicated because this isn't just staying straight. It forms a convex shape. It's going to be like pushed in so that it ends up curving around. And then actually this little top up here is going to have to curve back a little bit more. So you're getting almost like a compound curve up at that spot. So there's going to be a little, fair amount of tension in there. We're going to use CA glue. We'll use some nails and stuff to kind of secure that. Just like with the first one, I'm going to put some wood glue along the deck edges, and then we'll CA along the ribs. And I'm going to wait and put CA up there because I think it's going to need it to bond fairly quickly. So alrighty. Get that set in. And we'll come back and do the CA and stuff up there once we get the lower part set. There's going to be enough flexibility in this to be able to get the glue in there. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to use some Windex here to soften the back section a little bit so that it'll helps if you take the cap off the glue. We'll swing this around and put some nails in. Okay, unfortunately, I think I need to be exactly where the camera is to be able to put the rest of the nails in I need. So we'll come back as soon as I get done putting some nails in and really securing this, and you'll be able to see this whole side done. Okay, we're back, and you can see I've got everything done on this side. Got the nice seal along the deck on the inside there. I just need to do a little bit of glue cleanup and stuff in there. Got a nice concave. Everything is as it should be back here. I'm not sure how well the camera picks it up if I do this, but you might be able to see that there's that nice curve. Everything is tight, as I said, along the deck over there. And it doesn't really matter, even if there is a little bit of a gap, because there's going to be some wood that will actually go. There's right along between where these come in and the deck. So there'll be a little 2x2 millimeter strips that'll run along there that would close up any gap. But everything looks really good. I'm going to go now and repeat the whole process on the other side, and we'll come back when both sides are done. All right, and we're back. We've got both sides done here. You can see, I think it looks pretty good. I definitely have decided to line the inside of these bulwarks with some sepally planking and whatnot. As you can see over here, there's some glue got up. I got to do a little bit more cleanup on that and sand it. And already the color's changing. And if I flip this around to the other side, you'll see back here that side the plywood was stiffer than it was on this side, and I needed to put some Windex like on both sides, and you can see where some of the Windex got down on the top, it actually just discolored it and stuff. Not to mention, you can look using the same stain out of the same bottle. Two different pieces of wood took the stain very differently. I'd probably have to put multiple coats on this upper one to get it that dark. So with all those kind of inconsistencies and everything, I'm just definitely going to go and plank the inside of those. That'll cover that up. It'll make it the same shade as that bulkhead that you see in the back there. So I think it'll look really good with the planking on the inside. All of this is going to get covered up. There's actually 2 layers of planking, a thicker and a thin layer that's going to go up here. So where the dye bled through the portholes and the cannon ports and stuff, that's all. You're not going to see it anymore. So I think this is a good spot to stop this video. There's actually 2 more of these things that have to get put in. But the interesting thing is the instructions actually have us do another step before we put those in. I'm not quite sure why, but if I kind of tilt this here, you can see there's these notches that run down the length of here. And so there's a special plank that's going to run down there. And I say it's special because it's thicker than most of the other planks. But all the planking we're going to do is 2 millimeter by 5 millimeters, so it's 2 millimeters thick. That's 3 millimeters thick, so that it can account for the extra depth in there. I think the main reason we're doing that is so that they can ensure that the first plank that you put basically is at an exact spot. So it'll help you follow the instructions and the diagrams a lot easier because it's specific. It's like, okay, after you get this one in, then there's like 4 planks and you have to do a shorter one and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it just kind of guarantees it a little bit. So we're going to go, we'll do that step, then we'll come back and we'll put the final 4, well, I guess technically 8, it's 4 on each side of these laser cut parts. And like I said, so that's going to be the next steps. The next video will probably be a pretty short one where we'll just do um, those extra thick planks that are going to go in there. And I'll show you how we're going to bend the planks. We'll see it because this is probably one of the thicker pieces of wood I've ever had to bend. And but fortunately, it doesn't take any real sharp curves that we need to put into it, so it should be okay. So yes, now's a good spot where we'll conclude this video. I know I said I was concluding it about a minute ago, but yeah, we'll stop and then we'll come back as we're getting ready to do that additional plank. Until next time, uh, goodbye. And if you like these videos and you want to see more, please like, subscribe, and definitely a comment. I really appreciate to hear from you what you think of the build so far. If you got any tips and pointers for me, as I said, I'm still relatively new to this, or if you want to understand why I'm doing certain things, I'll just love to hear from you, and I'll definitely get back to all of your comments. So until next time, have a good day. Bye.